Hey hikers, Muppet here from Good Nature Trails, and this summer I thru hiked the Colorado Trail. Good morning everybody, and welcome to my attempt at a thru hike of the Colorado Trail. Climbing up Hope Pass. So, ascending a couple thousand feet. Not a bad day. Welcome to my first video in my Colorado Trail series. The Colorado Trail was actually my first thru hike. Being someone who's only had a couple of miles experience beforehand, the Colorado Trail was definitely pretty daunting, but luckily for me, I had like a really good support system. So planning for this trip actually took us about 2 years between me and my friend Nico. We started planning this trip long before COVID. For 2 years, we researched, accumulated gear, stocked ourselves up on everything we needed, watched plenty of YouTube videos, watched other people's thru hikes on the Colorado Trail, day hikes, section hikes, whatever. Just everything we could do to try to understand Colorado's climate, what to expect on the trail, and what to expect in the towns. Those 2 years of research, while it prepared us for withstanding thunderstorms, rainstorms, windstorms, hailstorms, anything in between, no amount of research could prepare any of us for the altitude of Colorado. I'm currently about 11,000 feet in the air. And being born and raised in sea level, this is not too easy. A couple of days ago as practice, we summited Mount Elbert, and that kicked my ass. And I didn't even have a pack on. Something that the CTF explains about why about half of the thru hikers who start the Colorado Trail don't finish the trail is because of not being in shape enough beforehand. And I kind of thought, whatever, like I work a physical job, I'll be okay. But yeah, if your lungs aren't made of steel by the time you get out there, like you're in for a rude awakening. The first time we did any sort of hiking around 9,000 feet or above, we would take a couple of steps and you'd instantly feel like your muscles were exhausted. And then you'd take a break, you'd catch your breath, 30 seconds later you'd be like, wow, my legs aren't tired at all. Here I go, 30 more steps and you have to take a break again. So starting out in the trail, we were going really, really slow. We were averaging around 8 to 10 miles a day, maybe even less on some days. Some days we'd try to push out more, but like we would just be so exhausted afterwards from from not having enough oxygen. Before we get too into this hike, I do want to explain how we're thru hiking. We're not doing a standard thru hike of the Colorado Trail. Me and my buddy Nico are actually going to be flip-flopping. We have a few buddies out here with us who thru hike the Appalachian Trail, and they're joining us for the Collegiate Loop. That is the Collegiate East, which is the standard Colorado Trail pass, and the Collegiate West, which is the alternate route that everyone says is a little bit prettier. So we will be doing both of those first, and then we will be going back to the beginning at Denver, hiking to the starting point here, then going to the starting point and hiking towards Durango. So after we're done the loop, it'll just be me and Nico, and our buddies from the AT will be parting ways with us. So I started this trail with Nico, Paris, Recon, and some other friends. We actually started our thru hike at Twin Lakes. Reason being is because some of the people in our group could only hike the Colorado Trail for about 2 weeks. They were planning to hike the whole thing with us. You know, life gets in the way and plans change and whatnot, so we didn't want to strip them away from seeing the best that the Colorado Trail has to offer. So we actually started our thru hike in the Collegiate West. We started our hiking at Twin Lakes, and we were headed straight for Hope's Pass, so right off the bat, one of the most difficult climbs along the whole trail. I am climbing up Hope Pass right now, and I'll be passing over in about a mile. So I'm going to do that so you don't have to listen to me struggling to breathe. Starting our climb up to Hope's Pass was definitely when altitude really sank in for me. I was definitely running out of breath. I was moving a lot slower than I normally would and than I was planning to. And then on top of all that, I was stopping for water way too often. Luckily for me, this part of the trail was really wet. There was a lot of water sources. Stopping for water as much as I did slowed me down to the point where everyone else in my group had kind of made their way long in front of me at this point. I got my first little glimpse of hiking in Colorado all by myself. Even for that little bit, when you're kind of like expecting to be with your group the whole time, it makes you hyper-focused. You're looking for more trailblazers that aren't really there. So when you don't see a trailblaze for a while, you kind of start getting confused. You start second-guessing yourself. You start whipping out the map a little bit more. There's Paris. It's a little windy, but I made it. Hope's Pass. And I caught up with Recon. And I met up with Nico. Getting to the top of Hope's Pass was just such a relief. Like, you're struggling the whole time. You're like gasping for air, quite literally. And then getting up there, being able to take off the pack, breathe a little, enjoy the views. There's no better feeling. Because as you're climbing, you're like, why am I doing this? And then you get to the top and you're like, this is why I'm doing this. It was incredible. Couldn't have asked for better weather at the top of Hope's Pass. And then, it was time to start hiking down. Maybe 30 minutes ago, there wasn't a single cloud in the sky. And then just like that, we are getting beat up by hail. There's a storm over us. The hail was like just getting beat up by little pellets of rice, like someone was just pegging them at you. And hail is not something I had really any experience with before. Still hailing. One just landed right on my finger and it kind of hurt.
Oh! I prefer it when it's just hail instead of hail and rain.
Yeah.
Those Colorado storms.
You know it. I want to catch some thunder again. I want a big boom of thunder.
Oh, asking you, Shell.
Hope's Pass. It was beautiful. The weather was beautiful. And now thunderstorm number 3 has, for the most part, just passed. It got a little crazy for a while. And somebody's rain jacket is on the floor here. I think it's Recon's. Let's find out. So that was our first of many experiences with hail. It sucked. It slowed us down. We probably took about an hour break, but it did eventually go away. And once it did, we were heading straight for Lake Anne, which is surrounded by the Three Apostles, which is definitely one of the coolest mountain ranges along the whole trail.
Well, yeah. So it's called Three Apostles on the left, Ice Mountain in the middle, but I assume that that's all three are the Three Apostles.
Sweet.
This one is called Huron Peak.
After only a few days into my first through hike, I experienced so much. I literally got a glimpse of what Colorado was in just those few days. I felt like I started learning its schedule with its rain and hail, learning kind of the way the land moved and how you move with it. This was only the beginning of the Collegiate West. We probably still had 60 miles left to go after this. But we can get into that in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching my first video on the Colorado Trail and the first video on the channel. If you want to keep up with my through hike and see more content, make sure you subscribe. Anyways, I'm Muppet, and I'll see you on the trail.